All right, welcome to our podcast. This is Matt. I'm here with Brian, Diego, and Jason. Tonight we are going to be doing our second podcast, first one that we'll hopefully be recording, because who knows if we'll ever get the other one back.
First one we care to share with the public.
Yeah, we're going to be doing Predator tonight. And just want to make sure that you guys have gotten through it all. I'm not even going to ask Diego because I know he hasn't, because he never finishes the movies in time. How much longer do you have, Diego?
Do you want the real number or the fake?
The real number. No, the real number.
Okay, the real number. I'm kind of embarrassed to admit this. I had to work all weekend, so this is not a normal weekend. I have about half an hour. I know the gist of the movie. I've seen it before, but I have about a half an hour.
Half an hour to go or half an hour into it?
Half an hour to go. Come on.
Oh, that's not bad. I thought you just started like 10 minutes ago.
No.
Half hour to go. That's good to go. That's good for you.
And that's
well, you can catch up to us.
That's actually the honest answer.
And are you past run, get to the chopper? I'm sorry, choppa.
Run! Go! Get to the chopper!
So basically,
yet?
there are about 3 dead people. How about that?
Okay.
So have you passed the part where Apollo says, "Damn, Rock, come on, what's the matter with you?"
Nails, Rock, nails.
Like the guy says, you're gonna eat lightning and you're gonna crap thunder. You're gonna become a very dangerous place.
I'm not sure if I have, actually. Let's just say it's a half an hour. It's roughly half an hour.
All right, go finish the end, and why don't you join us whenever you find out what happens to the Predator.
Sounds good. I will be back.
Be back.
Very nice segue to Arnold Schwarzenegger there.
It would be even better if you actually planned it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly right.
All right, Predator. June 12th, 1987. First and foremost, did anybody actually see this in the movie theater?
I did. I actually got my brother and I. What would I have been? 13, I think, at the time, something like that. We used to go watch movies all the time. I think we saw a matinee of that, and we were the only ones in the theater. My 11-year-old brother and me. So yeah, I think I saw it multiple times in the theater.
That's awesome. I caught this one on home video, renting it. Even though I was age appropriate to see it, I never got a chance to see it. What about you, Pless?
I think out of every movie that I saw the previews for when it first came out, I don't think I can remember a single movie that I wanted to see more than this one when I saw the previews for it, but I was only 11, so I was not allowed to see it when it came out, unfortunately, but not too long after it was on whatever VHS or whatever, I'm sure I saw it a million times as soon as, probably a year or two after.
Well, this was the beginning of probably the Arnold Schwarzenegger phase when I was starting to watch a bunch of different stuff. Terminator, Commando, one of my favorites, and this one. And then I think the first movie of his I saw in the theater was either The Running Man or Total Recall, whichever one came out first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
this one's definitely the one that, to me, holds up the best out of all of them. I mean, he has some great ones. Terminator's awesome, and Commando's great for its 80s shtick, but this one's the one, to me, that every time it's still on, I'm still amazed that it holds up as well as it does.
It does. It holds up really well. I think a couple different reasons. One, I think just kind of the story, it's a mishmash of your standard action fare, but kind of a horror movie kind of rolled into it, too. And then the fact that they went and used practical effects for most of the movie too, so there's not a lot of outdated special effect work or CGI, and there's a little bit of that, but most real explosions, no models, stuntmen. I think that helps too to make things not feel so dated.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things with those old movies. They try to do state of the art special effects and they overdo it where it might have looked good at the time, but those movies just do not hold up at all.
Well, And what's amazing about this one was it was a hodgepodge. Like they didn't know that they had budget overruns. They didn't know how they were going to finish it. They didn't even know what the creature that we all love as the Predator was not the original design. And they came up with it kind of on the fly as they found some additional money to finish the movie. But I mean, when you think about it, like how all those movies sort of have the same, all the creature movies sort of have the same formula where you get little snippets of the creature at first and eventually there's a reveal at the end. I was sitting there watching it thinking, this to me is maybe the best monster reveal out of any of the movies I've ever seen. I mean, Alien, any of those. Like this one's great, and you get two of them at the end because you get him when he loses his stealth, his cloaking device, and then when he pulls his helmet off as well, and both of them are awesome.
I agree.
It's such an iconic monster.
They did kind of slowly reveal the whole thing. I think it was definitely awesome. He really got you interested to see what the creature looked like at the very end because of all the little things that you got for it. I think you're spot on with that.
I think it's still second to Alien though, or Aliens maybe. I'm not sure which one I like better.
Well, in Aliens, you know what the aliens look like already. There was just more of them. The first Alien,
right.
It took
the Queen, right? They didn't show the Queen for a while.
Yeah, the Queen. Yeah, the Queen was different, but you weren't like in anticipation of seeing what the Queen finally looked like you were with the Predator reveal or the first Alien in the first movie.
I mean, they may have taken longer revealing the Predator, but the whole way that it was filmed, I like how really in both movies, but I think in Alien was maybe even a little bit better because they do such a good job of just not showing the aliens very much and really building the anticipation. But I mean,
absolutely,
they do it in both, though. I mean, they do it really well in both.
Well, the weird thing about Predator to me is like how it is. There are three very distinct acts in the movie, and like the very first movie or the first part of the movie, like with the commandos, the A team, like you could pretty much make a movie just out of that. Like I think it would have been a successful movie just with all of those characters were so iconic.
Hey, I would watch a prequel. Like they talk about
absolutely
a good job in Berlin. Like I'd like what happened in Berlin. I want to see that. I want to see that movie.
Remember Afghanistan? Trying to forget it, and then they passed on the Libya thing, like the whole story of just all those characters are so cool. Yeah, and by the way, what military, so they're obviously special forces, right? And they're army because
the second special forces team.
Are they special forces, or are they like more of a soldier of fortune that the CIA hired for them to come in?
They're the A team, basically.
Well, if they would have to be. Well, because they're airborne, or at least Dutch was airborne, and they knew they had to have been Army Special Forces because he knew the other team that had gone in,
the Green Berets,
and gotten skinned because they knew him from Fort Bragg. Well, I mean, Special Forces in the Army, there's, although their command is in Fort Bragg, they're all over the place. So they could have been an A team, and when it's funny when you look at them, they pretty much break out like an A team really would, like an advisory team really would. You've got your kind of command, your CO, you got your intelligence officer, you got your
heavy gunner
weapons
support
officer, all the scout, all that stuff. It was just so cool, but I was kind of wondering what if they were military, it'd be weird because who gets to pick and choose your own missions. So and if they're not, then how does that all work? How would they function as an autonomous merc
I think
group?
They're ex-military. I think they're a merc group. I think they're ex-military. They all used to work together. Obviously, Carl Weathers' character Dylan was with them at one point. Went to the CIA. They knew the general. They show up to the mission like wearing whatever clothes they want to wear, right? And then when they're in the jungle, they're not wearing a uniform. They don't have a name tag. They don't have any rank on anything. I think they're just mercenaries at this point, working like secret ops for the CIA.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
How many Rocky movies have been out at this point?
So, I didn't look at the Rocky movies. Let's see, Rocky IV, I believe, came out in 85 or 86.
No, it's
88.
88?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that late. It wasn't as late. And I know Rambo. I was looking because I love the when Schwarzenegger puts his mud on and jumps out of the trees and stuff. I'm thinking, when was Rambo out? Well, Rambo was out 2 years before that, so Rambo was 85.
The first one?
No, not First Blood. First Blood was way
You're right.
earlier,
85 was Rocky 4. I could have swore it was closer to the end of the 90s or 80s.
Mid 80s, and Rambo was basically the same time. So he had Rambo and Rocky 4 out. Stallone, I mean, had those two out at the same time, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. So
the director of this movie is John McTiernan. Do you guys kind of know what he's famous for other than Predator movies?
No, I didn't IMDb him.
Nope.
Die Hard.
Oh, nice.
He directed the first Die Hard. Die Hard with a Vengeance. Predator.
Wow.
He did, unfortunately, did the remake of Rollerball. He directed Last Action Hero. Hunt for Red October, Matt. There you go.
That. But Last Action Hero was the downfall of Arnold Schwarzenegger in his career. That was one of his first disappointments. It still made a ton of money worldwide. It was such an awful disappointment. I think we saw that together back in the day. It was so bad.
I actually did not see that one in the movie theater, so that you were with a different group.
Oh, so you got lucky and didn't have to see it.
I think it was the point I was actually dating girls and you guys weren't, so I actually was probably... So I was exempt.
I have to admit, I saw that in the theater. Yeah, it's great.
So what do you guys think? I was trying to figure out what my favorite part of this movie was, and there's so many good scenes, almost impossible to pick. I mean, even from the very start, just when, you could probably pick 5 scenes just from the helicopter alone, which were the best. Him coming out, everyone comes out of the helicopter, and Schwarzenegger is just sitting there with all you can see is a cigar. That's an iconic scene. And then everything in the helicopter, the music. I mean, if I had to even say, I think the music in the movie and the sound effects are almost as good, if not better, than the movie itself.
It's a real nasty habit you got there.
It's such an iconic theme song. It's so weird because it's got like the most offbeat sound to it, but it's just iconic. It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
I think my favorite scene is probably the one the most was kind of a jump scare, but it always sticks out is when they set up the booby traps when they're waiting for the predator to come to them. It's the daytime. Right. It's not the nighttime. It's the day. And then they don't see or hear anything, and Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of walks out from the cover, and he's looking. He's very carefully avoiding the trip wires. Everything's all quiet, nothing. Then all of a sudden, right behind him, the net goes up in the air, right?
Yeah.
And that always freaked me out because the dude was basically creeping up right on top of him. And then, there's leaves and stuff in there, and he shreds the net and gets out. But that part is probably one of my favorite parts there because it's always freaky.
There are a couple of oh shit moments in that movie. That's one of them. I think the one where
Mac's fighting the boar at night.
Well, that one too. But when Mac is crawling towards him, and all of a sudden Mac gets the 3 red dots on his arm.
Oh, I love
that. You didn't know what those were at that time, right? Because you didn't know that capability, right?
And the Predator's standing right over top of him. And then the other one was when Schwarzenegger's up in the tree and he jumps down behind him. When he comes into his trap, and Schwarzenegger thinks he's stalking him. He's like, shit.
Yes.
My favorite by far, though. I think there's so many great one-liners in that movie, but I love Billy. I just love Billy. When they don't even know what this thing is, but Billy's figured it out. It's not human.
I'm scared.
And Poncho's like, hey man, bullshit. You ain't scared of no man.
There's something out there waiting for us, and it ain't no man.
We're all gonna die. That's just the greatest. Sonny Landham had.
Yeah, we had a
so many good ones.
We had a friend growing up who thought he was Billy from Predator, and his name is Bill. Actually,
yeah, he was mentally ill. That dude was in Locked Up with Stallone. He was in 48 Hours. I mean, he was
Action Jackson. He was in Action Jackson with Carl Weathers.
That movie's ridiculous, by the way. Craig T. Nelson is the bad guy in it, so you're in for a real treat of terrible 80 action movie cliches. And he's like a car dealership owner or something. That's the bad guy. But we'll get to stay away from bad Carl Weathers, Sharon Stone, Vanity.
Yeah, Sharon Stone, Vanity getting naked in that one. It was good. It's good, man.
Yep.
No, I mean, but Predator was. I don't know. I think it's the best. Really, of almost all of that whole genre, at that time. It was just it's one that just there's only a handful of them of all those kind
It
of
wasn't cheesy,
way over the top 80s.
stupid. Right. It was a good mix of sci-fi, action, and horror at the same time. Right. It really combined all those things, and those three things very well too. And I think that's why still you watch it now. It's a good movie. I think you can probably show it to teenagers and stuff now, and they probably like it. Not to make too much fun of it. It kind of takes it seriously, but it's fun at the same time.
There's so many good one-liners. It's again like when we try to pick our favorite quote from this movie, it's going to be impossible because there's so. I mean, every single line in the movie was, just an unbelievable quote.
Well, Arnold Schwarzenegger was known to do one-liners in every single movie he's in, so those are kind of
not just him though. Everyone, all the
everyone
guys
got
like Blaine and Hawkins and Mac and
Jesse
everybody.
Ventura's Blaine probably had the best overall.
Yeah.
The most. Like, I ain't got time to bleed.
Yeah, and everything.
I just love the. I mean, the whole helicopter scene is just iconic.
When he's Alfred chewing tobacco.
You got a really bad habit. You got after he spits on his foot.
Sexual Tyrannosaurus, just like me.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
Like,
it's great.
What's wrong with you?
How many governors can you fit in one cast in an '80s action movie? It's crazy, man.
What,
those guys
two?
went on to do what they did.
And then one wannabe one. Who was that? Was that Sonny or who wanted to be a governor?
Sonny. Wasn't that we were talking about that? He ran for office as well.
What did he run for office? Is there any trivia on that right now with this dude? Let me see if I can pull it up.
It's
upstairs.
We were talking about this in the episode that will probably never see the light of day. But you had asked the question, the trivia question about what famous actor played the Predator for about 2 weeks during the filming.
It was John Claude, wasn't it?
2 days. It's 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days?
2 days, yeah.
2 days.
Nice.
So, hold on. I just pulled up Billy or Sonny Landham's trivia page, and the first bit of trivia on him, former 1970s porn star.
Oh, there you go.
Is anybody surprised by that?
Not a bit. He was a lunatic, man.
And it says what you said last week that nobody's ever going to hear. During the filming of Predator, a bodyguard was hired, not for his personal protection, but because the film's insurance company worried for the safety of the cast with him around.
That's right.
Then in 2003, he ran for governor of Kentucky. He held a press conference June 18, 2003, to announce his candidacy as an independent for state of Kentucky. So he went from a 1970s porn star, 80s action star, to 2000s wanting to be in government. Sounds about right. That's probably the least sleazy job he's had.
What do you guys think is the best? Actually, do you remember the joke that finally got Billy to laugh?
Yeah, it was the echo.
He kept trying to get him to laugh like that whole movie, and then finally, I just little things like that throughout the whole movie.
That was a good one. But did you notice? So Hawkins tries to get him to laugh the first time, and he gets nothing out of him in the helicopter.
And that's the best one. That was probably the best joke of this film.
And then he gets them when they're in the village after having in the camp when they go in there and take out all the bad guys, which is just what an example of 80s bad guys with bad aim. That is like the greatest. Like 6 dudes go in and just kill 1 million people. It was like almost as crazy as Commando, but it was just awesome.
So,
the one that was funny is when Billy cracks up laughing in the helicopter when Blaine offers everybody tobacco and nobody wants it, and he says the Tyrannosaurus line.
Yeah.
Pancho pulls out his grenade launcher and says, "Strap this to your sore ass, Blaine." And Billy loses it. Billy loses it. You don't see him, but you hear him. And it's great. You hear that iconic laugh that the Predator does at the end, stealing Billy's laugh. It's great, man.
I totally missed that point. I'm going to go back and watch it now. I did not see him back up.
My favorite line from the whole show is probably, "Hey, Billy, the other day I went up to my girlfriend and said, I'd like a little pussy." She said, "Me too. Mine's as big as a house." Every time I hear that, it's so awesome because you can't get a laugh out of that dude. I mean, he just.
Hey! The other day I went up to my girlfriend. I said, you know, I'd like a little pussy. She said, me too. Mine's as big as a house.
So JJ, tell the story about Shane Black because you told it during the episode. They'll probably never be heard. But there's a cool story about him.
Shane Black. Well, let's see if I can remember the right one. Played Hawkins in the movie. Is actually the writer of Lethal Weapon, Last Boy Scout, Lethal Weapon 2. When he was working on this movie, he was actually writing the script for The Last Boy Scout. So he must have made something crazy in the jungle for the write that messed up of a movie. Now, I love the movie, too. What am I missing? I'm trying to remember what I said last time.
Well, I think the part of it was the story I understood was they had, I don't remember who they had lined up, but somebody else was supposed to play Hawkins. He wasn't even really an actor, and he just basically filled in. And I think he may have known the screenwriters or something along those lines, but he just filled in and basically played the part. Like he'd never really done that before.
Joel Silver, the producer, was working on another movie, or Shane Black was writing a script for another movie. He wanted to keep Shane Black close by to ensure he finished the script, and I believe it was the one for The Last Boy Scout, and that's why they gave him the part in the movie, so they could all be in the jungle together and ensure he had the time to finish the script of that movie. So a writer, director...
They were in some crazy part of like Mexico, because if I remember the story, I can't remember which Schwarzenegger movie, but Schwarzenegger was back filming another movie in that same part of the jungle, and it was really,
he had
really
to leave
nasty.
He had to leave Predator to go get married and come back. Like, he got married to Maria Shriver during the filming of Predator.
Nice.
Well, I heard a great story. They were talking to Bill Hader, from Saturday Night Live, and Bill Hader was actually a production assistant when he first came to Hollywood, and he was a production assistant on a movie, and I got to figure out what that movie would be.
Bill Hader?
Bill Hader, like the comedian Bill
Hader.
Comic actor Bill Hader.
Can be seen now in Trainwreck with Amy Schumer.
Amy Schumer. I love Bill Hader. He's hilarious. But he was talking about how he was a PA on another Schwarzenegger movie where they were back in Mexico, and just how big of a prick Schwarzenegger was. Just a complete prima donna, complete bastard to everybody around him. But they were talking
that would make me sad.
They were talking about how, like, in this area of Mexico, wherever they were filming, it was so bad that they were like, I forget if it was poisonous snakes or something, but they had to send like a crew of Mexicans out ahead of them shooting in the jungle and like scatter all the wildlife before they would come.
Really? He was in Collateral Damage. That would be the Schwarzenegger movie.
Another terrible one.
And he was also a production assistant on The Scorpion King with The Rock. So this dude's suffered.
Yeah. I just want to tell you one other thing about the helicopter scene that I don't know if you guys would have picked up, since it was from another movie that was probably one of my favorites. I'm not like a huge Western fan, but there were a couple that I really liked. The first one was Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and the second one was The Outlaw Josie Wales. And when when Blaine was spitting on Apollo's boots, I was like, it's just bringing me back to Outlaw Josie Wales, because that whole movie, he's just spitting on everything with his dip.
Oh, with some tobacco, yeah. He didn't also say very much either.
$1 a bottle. It works wonders on wounds.
Works wonders on just about everything, huh?
It can do most anything.
How was it with stings?
The line that stood out to me about that whole movie, and I don't know, it did even when I was a kid, was you think Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Huge guy, obviously, multiple Mr. Olympia bodybuilding winner, all that stuff. But when Anna describes when Jesse Ventura gets killed, she says, "When the big man was killed, you must have wounded it." So you got Schwarzenegger, you got Carl Weathers, who was an NFL football player. You got Sonny Landham's not a small guy. And even Bill Duke's not a small guy, but they describe Ventura as the big man. It just was like, wow, he must have been an enormous dude. And I know all those dudes were like on roids and all that stuff.
Well, Schwarzenegger's not all that tall.
No, he's like 5'11", I think, or 5'10" maybe. But
really?
That just puts it in perspective. Yeah, he's not a tall guy.
He's not a tall guy.
He's not even 6 foot.
Yeah.
No,
don't
Jesse
think he's even
Ventura's
6 foot tall.
6'4". So I'm looking at his profile. Jesse
Yeah.
Ventura's 6'4". He's clearly taller than Arnold Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger, he's probably 5'11". Let's see what his official stats are.
Wow, I always thought he was taller.
No, Stallone is like 5'6". Stallone's really
Well,
short.
I know he's a midget. I thought Arnold was.
Oh, no.
No, Arnold's not
Schwarzenegger
that
is
tall.
listed as 6'2" on IMDb.
He is absolutely not that tall.
He's not.
100% not
Ventura's
that tall.
6'4", though, which I actually believe from his pro wrestling career and all that. I believe that
He
Ventura's
was,
actually.
he's a legit badass. Like, he was a Navy SEAL, and then went on to he was pro wrestler, and he got huge. I mean, I remember seeing some bio on him, and he was talking about he always wanted to have like 20-inch arms, and he trained to the point where he got 20-inch arms. I mean, he had some help, but that dude, he's an impressive guy. He's a complete lunatic when it comes to all the weird
Conspiracy theorists and all that kind of crap.
Off the charts. But he's actually he's a pretty interesting dude.
He's been on Howard Stern show a bunch of times and tells some crazy stories. And he's got a book out too that I think I'd probably love to read about his life. And the dude from American Sniper. So Jesse Ventura sued that guy, Chris. No, that's Lone Survivor. What's the guy's name? Chris something or another.
Yeah.
From American Sniper. The dude wrote in his autobiography that he got in a tussle with Jesse Ventura at a bar and knocked him out in one punch. And then Ventura actually sued him for whatever, and actually won. Like the estate of this guy now owes Jesse Ventura a couple $1 million. I remember that was a big point of contention for a lot of people. It's like, he sued an American hero, for writing that he got knocked out in one punch. He was just embarrassed by, well, then
maybe you shouldn't be lying to,
you should put in a book. Tell your buddies over a beer, but don't put it in a book, right? Like if it's not true.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
Oh, I was going to ask you guys also, what do you guys, it's probably a random thing that you might not remember, but, in a story with an alien, I thought the most unbelievable thing was actually Carl Weathers cutting off the general when he was explaining to Schwarzenegger what was going on.
Right.
Like, you just don't cut off the general. Like, in most movies, the general's kind of a big deal.
There were so many implausible things. I mean, when they're talking
but he was in the CIA, though.
Yeah, but
still,
I
mean, he would have had, and it was his
op. You don't do that to a general, though. You don't do that to a general.
Well, the other thing that was funny is, I don't know if you guys, I don't know, I kind of nerd out on some military stuff. Never been in the military, but I've always been interested in that stuff. And when they do, like, special ops like that, they plan that stuff out to the T. They've got all their contingency plans in ahead of time. A lot of times they'll prep and practice that stuff. Like when they did the Bin Laden raid.
Don't show up? You don't show up in the jungle and kill 250 rebels?
My favorite part, though, is when Schwarzenegger's in the helicopter and he's talking to Blaine he's talking to Dylan and he says, "Who's our backup?"
Yeah,
he goes, "No, we don't have any in this one." He goes, "Oh, this just gets better by the minute." Like, yeah, you're gonna do your planning in the helicopter right before you.
These guys are so good. They show up and make it up as they go along.
Yeah, it's funny because he just doesn't even care. Like the whole movie, he's just finding out. So who are these guys? You have no idea who this other crew is that's in here. It's like Apollo's. I'm just gonna call him Apollo because that's what he is. He just doesn't. He's always Apollo. He doesn't.
I didn't know there was another op going on around here.
Yeah, he doesn't ever acknowledge anything, and it's just so obvious he's lying about everything. I mean, he knows everything. He just
these guys just pretty much
go Arnold
my men were on that chopper.
Yeah,
these guys pretty much just go in and blow the shit out of everything. That's their job. Like blow stuff up.
My favorite part is how Arnold just doesn't care. Like he expects him to. I think he just expects that he's full of shit, and he just it's like whatever. We're going to kill everybody anyway. We don't I don't really care.
So they did get double crossed. So Carl Weathers did double cross Schwarzenegger and his team. And you guys, it took me so many times to ever figure that out, what the double cross was. Do you guys even know what that plot point is?
In the world, you give up position one more time, I'll bleed you real quiet. Leave you here. Got that?
Anybody? Yeah.
Bueller?
Yep.
Bueller.
Do you guys know? Do you guys know what the double cross was though? So they said it was like officials from some Latin American country or something that got shot down, like Guatemala or something. That was a rescue mission. But why were they actually there?
Well, there was
Yeah,
an
some
invasion.
ambassador. They'd gone over the country, whatever the line was. So they were in an area they weren't supposed to be in. The ambassador
They were
supposed
basically
to be after.
they were basically trying to stop a weapons shipment, and that, they
Shipment,
didn't
right?
know that. But that's
They
what
were
it was
they were there
about.
to kill all the guerrillas, right? They wanted
Right.
to trick them to go to, because those guys are normally, they're on rescue missions, right, to get out hostages.
Right.
So they had to create a hostage drama, even though there was actually hostages there from the helicopter. But anyway, that like it
Since
took.
they
I don't know
turned down
why
the
that was.
Libya one, right?
You could have
That
had.
wasn't super clear to me. I had to see that movie multiple times to actually figure out what was going on. I originally thought, and I thought this would have been a more interesting thing, though, is like they knew, because the very first scene in the movie is like a spacecraft, like circling Earth
Yeah.
and
It
Earth, and like
looks like a space station wagon.
looks like something Ed Wood would do in 1955. It was pretty. That's pretty bad. But I thought the original Double Cross was like the U.S. government knew that an alien spacecraft had landed there, sent that original team of Green Berets to hunt it down, and they got killed. And then they sent these guys, because they were so good, to go track the alien down. But on multiple viewings after that, I realized that was not the Double Cross. But I thought that would have been pretty freaking awesome if that's actually the whole plot.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah, that would have been way cooler. That would have been way cooler. It wasn't. No, that would have been way cooler to do it that way, I think.
Like a lot better motivation for Carl Weathers Dillon's character in the CIA to get like the best group of like mercenaries that he knew to come in, right?
Right, and he loses his. My men were on that chopper, but then, he sent the Hopper and his group after his guys, and then they got lost. And it's like they keep throwing good money after bad, but that's the military's way. So that wasn't too unrealistic. It was just kind of weird that they alluded. There's just so much backstory there that could have been explored in a different way, and I'm just surprised they didn't do it, because that whole first half of the movie, or first third of the movie, could have been you could have made an awesome 80s movie without even having a monster in it, just doing it with those guys.
Oh, absolutely.
But the monster was just so cool too. It was like, it was just so weird to watch it again, and you're like, wow, because like you were saying, it could have very well been not. It had nothing to do with the double cross about intelligence officers and the CIA and all that stuff. It could have just been, hey, we're after this monster, and you guys are the best team to go do it, and that would have been great too. But it was just, it's just, I always found that strange that there was like this. That whole side to it with the history of Dylan and Dutch together in Vietnam together in the airborne, and then how this team came together, and like we were talking about Berlin and Libya.
We need some flashbacks. We should have had some flashbacks, right?
Yep.
Well, we can always have George Lucas write us a prequel.
Oh God, please.
I will give this a lot of credit, though. The fact is, they kind of threw a very paper-thin plot, we'll say, to get him to the meat of the story with the predator hunting them. But it is a lean and mean movie. Like, it's not a long movie, and it just, the first 5 minutes is setting up everything, and it's pretty much action nonstop with just a few lulls after that. And, like, you know what? I kind of appreciate that, too. Like, get to the chase.
Dude. How many
People want to
times
see blowing shit up.
You could have just sat back and put 30 minutes of guys standing around with those miniguns just blasting stuff in the jungle. That was like the greatest thing
let's
ever.
Let's talk about the minigun. Let's talk about, is that really the most practical for like a search and rescue mission in the jungle, like a helicopter minigun? Really? I mean, it came in handy, yeah, I give you credit, but like if you're packing light for jungle recon and search and rescue, you really want to bring a minigun with you? That thing, how much does that thing weigh?
I think that's Jesse the body's it's his weapon of choice. He doesn't leave home without it.
Well, even he said that in order to make that weapon practical, you'd have to have a Jeep full of ammo. I mean, he'd be out of it in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It also needs a power source.
Here's the other thing that bugged me. He's back.
Is that Diego? We waited for Diego long enough.
We were waiting on you.
Is the movie over?
It's done.
Nice.
So did the Predator win?
By the way, I'm pouring some more whiskey.
Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
Actually, probably now, since Diego has joined us to do the call of the sponsored beverages for the evening. Plus, what do you got?
Actually, why don't you guys start? 'Cause I need to go get another one of what I'm drinking. You guys can do the roll call.
All right, what are you drinking?
I'm actually drinking a Rogue Dead Guy ale, And
I've
it's
had
weird
that.
because I haven't had it in about a year, and I thought it was hoppier than that. And it's more like I detect some honey in this brew, and I don't know if I like it as much.
I
So
remember that being an awfully the rogue beers being awfully hoppy.
it's not as hoppy as I was just drinking over the weekend some POs out of Athens, Ohio, and I
Yeah.
was drinking some of their Mystic Mama IPA,
Is
and that
that
is much
a little
hoppier.
is that a little marijuana in that if it comes from Athens? I mean, right? They got
Probably so. I wouldn't put it past them, but it's good stuff. I like that way better than I like the Rogue Dead guy. But I bought it. I'm into this thing for about $13, so we're gonna hammer on. We're gonna push on through.
just you know what? You could have been one of Dutch's crew on this movie if you're going to push on through the
Right.
pain like that. Very
Let
impressive.
me put it this way, JJ. I wouldn't wish this on a broke dick dog.
Around here, this stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus, just like me.
nice way to throw in a quote from the movie. All right, Diego, what are you having?
I'm having Jameson.
No,
On
no,
the
no,
rocks.
no, not the young man in your room. What are you drinking?
We're not gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Happens to be the same name. Jameson on the rocks.
On the rocks. Very nice.
Beautiful.
Very nice. Tonight, I had a little bottle of Pepsi Max left over. I don't drink a lot of soda, but we took kids to the Scotts pool today. And my wife brought me a soda, so I had some of that left, and I filled a lot more vodka in it, and it made it a lot better. So I was drinking a little Kettle One with a little Pepsi Max on the rocks.
Yeah, I was getting worried you were going to be like a true lightweight tonight. I was like, oh, Pepsi Max, you're not even drinking any alcohol tonight? Come on.
No,
now.
but with the hour of technical difficulties that you had, I needed the extra energy to stay up late enough to do this.
Fuck you, asshole.
You're going
So
vodka.
it was a wise
Coke?
choice. Yeah.
Vodka Coke? Is that even a drink?
Diego,
It
I'm
was
with you,
to
man.
me.
That sounds disgusting. That just sounds
You know-
wrong. It needs to be a brown liquor with a brown soda. I think that's the
It was
rule.
brown. It was brown from the Pepsi Max. But last week, Crown Royal Maple on the rocks. In fact, I was grilling out tonight, and I had a Crown Royal Maple on the rocks while I was grilling. Pork chop, though. All right, Bless. You're back. What are you drinking?
I am finishing up the case of Becks that I got at Costco. That's the best part
Becks?
about Costco. You can buy them in cases, lots and lots of cases.
Oh, and that sounds like a potential commercial for a sponsor, Costco and Beck's Beer. You can buy it in lots and lots of cases at Costco.
Again, big plans. I'm going to Costco. I got a few things to pick up.
I love Costco. Costco's good.
All right. Well, since we waited
that
for Diego long enough, and everybody's back, we did the intro to the drinks. Diego, please give us your opinion of this movie.
Well, I have to say, I hadn't seen it in, 20 years. And I really, really enjoyed it. I was shocked by how much it held up, given the fact that it was made in 1987. There were aspects of it that obviously were at times cheesy. But overall, I thought it was a solid movie. And like I think I heard when I first came back on, there were very few lulls where there wasn't action. And I think that that helped the movie because I don't think this is a movie where you would expect a lot of dialogue. And overall, like I said, I really thought it was a well-made movie. I thought there were some funny moments, maybe unintentionally, and I give it.
We're not doing a rating, but I'm just.
You don't want my rating?
Not until the end.
Okay,
we're just
I'll
giving
hold
your
my
general opinion.
Okay, I'll hold my rating until the end. But
So we
what
all
about
liked the
this?
movie.
Yeah.
We all liked the movie, right? Everybody likes the movie. Let's talk about some things that we didn't like or just bother us. And I'm going to jump in this because I got a couple of things. One, after seeing it again, I didn't realize that Mac and Blaine were so close. Like, Mac pretty much had an emotional breakdown when Blaine got killed. Like,
Yeah.
what's the backstory on that guy? Did they have like an apartment together or condo somewhere on a beach in Miami?
He tells the story. He says, when they were in Vietnam, I guess together. I assumed it was Vietnam. I think it is. When I listened to the story, a while back, but they were talking about how they were in whatever they were. Their company was in a firefight, and everybody died or got mowed down except them. And they came out of that like brothers, basically, because they were the only ones that survived it, and they were together pretty much ever since working together. So they were like brothers.
And I'm sure Blaine killed everybody by indiscriminately firing his helicopter machine gun at stuff, and probably killed the rest of his.
See, I'm a little bit confused by this statement though, because how can Blaine die if he can't bleed?
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Oh.
Well, he didn't
Well, here's the
bleed.
other thing I had.
Remember, he had his chest blown out, and because it was a laser, it cauterized. They even made comments like,
but you know,
everything was
that's
cauterized
the funny
out.
part though. He didn't actually bleed, and he still died.
No.
Let me ask you this. So Blaine, we've already determined that the minigun had to have a humongous backpack on it full of ammunition and probably a car battery.
And a power source.
And a car battery to actually make the gun go, right? The Predator shoots his shoulder cannon through the backpack, through Blaine's chest, and yet Max still picks up the gun and empties the minigun into the jungle. So riddle me that one, Batman.
This, riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black bat?
So we're talking about a movie where an alien comes down from space to hunt people from sport. Do we really need to go on like how ununrealistic shit is in this?
Yeah. That's exactly
Suspend your disbelief.
That's exactly what we have to do.
You know, because there's a lot of stuff when they're the gorilla camp that they go to. There's like 5,000 people in like 2 huts, which like they keep coming out of nowhere just to become cannon fodder.
And nobody that goes out and scouts.
Nobody that goes out and scouts, right? And you know, I also had a problem with that they went to go rescue the hostages, and they just started blowing shit up. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger sends a truck with C4 in the middle of a building and blows up. You don't even know where the guys are. They're just blowing random buildings up.
Now to I guess to his credit, he sees the guy get executed.
He sees one of the guys get executed.
Right. And he
they come
just
back
sits
after
back.
Well, they come back after the siege, and then one guy goes, "Yep, I found the other hostage. He's dead too." And that's it. It's the last.
Exactly.
You know he's probably dead because you blew him up.
Diego, what do you think was the most unrealistic part of this movie?
Wow. I hate to say this because I just explained how much I love the movie, but there were a lot of unrealistic parts of the movie.
Number one.
Well, I would go with the alien. That
you mean the fact of an alien?
Aside from the alien, what's the most unrealistic part of the movie?
That is a very good question. I would say, I don't know if it's unrealistic or just shows how dumb the characters were in the movie, but they separated from each other a lot. And I just don't see, if you have an alien that is hunting you, that you would separate from each other. I mean, for God's sake, Billy cut his chest with a big knife. Separated from everybody else, took his shirt off, and said, "Let's go," basically, to the alien. I don't think that's very smart.
Well, so why did he cut his chest? What's the reason for that?
He was giving them some
I'm just going to say it was I'm just going to say it was a Native American thing, and we can't even discuss that anymore now. But no, I think the funny part was but really, I mean, Dutch makes the call because Dylan wants to go take Anna and make a run 12 miles to the chopper. And he says, "Hey,
to where?"
He says, "Hey, he wants."
Where were they going?
Dylan wants to leave. Remember
to
the chopper. And he says, "Hey, that's the line. If we don't make a stand here, there won't be anybody left to get to the chopper."
Get to the chopper.
That's when they set up all the. I thought honestly the most interesting and if not unrealistic part was. The whole idea of and Dylan even says it. This Boy Scout crap is gonna save their asses. Well, what happens when all of a sudden Schwarzenegger, is getting chased by this alien?
Booby trap.
And get ready for me.
Well,
never mind
in mud. He was
Hey,
covered
never mind.
in mud.
Yeah, how about the fire that he lights?
That was to attract the predator. Once all he had is like booby
that
trap
could have
thread.
been part of his, his ritual. He's got to, give him a little
Now-
bit of time to get prepared or whatever.
I'm going to jump back to something else I didn't like. I thought was a poor choice. There's very few poor choices in the movie. I thought this was one of them. The alien can not see very well. So he's from an advanced race, obviously, that can do intergalactic travel, that has technology that allows him to be cloaked or stealth, laser guns, and they can't see at all. They can't see. Like, why? Like that? Why can't the guy see? He can only see thermal vision or in
the other
shades
thing
of
was,
blue.
What's up with the weird sounds when he's seeing thermal vision? Is that like his pulse? Like, what is that? Like that?
I think that's the heart. He can detect the heartbeats of his prey.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Okay, so you can hear.
Except
you can
if
hear the
they're
pulse.
covered in mud.
Yeah,
Except if they're covered in mud.
It seems like he has the infrared going on, and he has very good hearing. So he does. His one weakness is his vision.
But the vision is stupid. The vision is stupid. Do you guys agree that the vision thing is stupid?
It is dumb.
See, I don't think it is. Why do you have to have? I mean, you look at all the animals out there. Like usually, bats have really good hearing. They can't see. Not everyone.
Yeah,
can
but bats
have
don't
everything.
create vehicles that can do interdimensional or interplanetary
It doesn't
travel.
mean that you're going to be like elite across every single possible ability.
Right.
And
you don't know what their home planet
You're really
conditions are.
stretching it.
I'm going with JJ on this one. I find it.
I think you're all full of
He
shit,
can't
and you're all wrong,
develop
and that's
technology
my
that lets
story.
him see.
Well, here's what was cool.
Technology
I mean,
lets him see.
but let's take it back to making a movie about it. No one had ever seen that. No one had ever used thermal cameras.
But why not have that an option on his helmet as part of his gear? He has all this crazy gear, but why not that be one?
They
of the
do it in
things?
they do it in the second movie. I mean, they get past that weakness in the second movie. So
But
Gary
we
Busey
didn't have
tried
the
to
second
exploit
movie
it.
yet,
He goes,
right? But we didn't have that in the second movie yet to go back.
I
and
agree.
explain it.
But I think just from the novelty of making the movie and the fact that they didn't even know what they were going to do with the monster, like they had the camouflage monster and they had the thermal vision, but they didn't even know what the monster was going to look like. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the picture of the original monster.
Yes.
It was the dumbest looking thing you have ever seen in your
That
life.
was the one for Jean-Claude Van Damme that he was going to wear.
It was horrible. And then they get Kevin Peter Hall, who was amazing, who played the Predator and played Harry and Harry and the Hendersons.
And played the helicopter pilot, the choppa pilot at the end that picked him up.
That's right. He did. You're right.
He is the helicopter pilot.
Why did John Claude? Why did he only last 2 days again, Jay?
He was a prima donna, and they kicked his ass back to the States because he bitched about the jungle conditions.
So was there any one thing that caused him to get booted, or was
no? He whined all the time.
He said that the original suit that they were having him wear, which is like, it's basically like this rubber suit with like tentacles and shit hanging out of it. He said that it was like basically killing him because it was like 2,000 degrees inside this suit, and he's in the middle of the hottest jungle you've ever been in this rubber suit. So he thought he was some big star, and he wasn't even really going to get credited. So he was gone, and then they got Kevin Peter Hall, who was amazingly athletic.
Yeah.
All right, so we're torn on the vision thing. Diego and I think it's stupid. You guys are okay with it, but we'll move on from that. When the first time I saw that movie, I always thought that was stupid, but whatever.
I can't buy vision is a higher level technology than
not technology,
all the things the guy was able to do.
You mean they can't create a pair of glasses so the damn guy can see? Seriously.
I thought that was insightful, actually, JJ.
He has the helmet. Why does he need glasses?
How can they see to create the technology in the helmet so he could see? Like,
he's not a shark. He's a high level being.
Yes.
And why does he need anything other than infrared unless they're covered in mud?
I think he was a fairly effective killing machine. Vision that he had.
You can't see differences in terrain with infrared vision. How does he jump from tree to tree? Like the trees are.
I don't know, but he does a good job because you can tell he's athletic. So let's get past that. Okay, we're plausible deniability, right?
Yes.
Or suspend your disbelief. So,
right.
So let's go into the one thing that I loved. It caught me at the end of this thing is Schwarzenegger. The last 30 minutes of the movie, the last act of the movie is basically Schwarzenegger versus this monster.
Right.
And the monster, yes. So my wife pops by and says, "Is anybody else talking?" You know what I say? F you. The one thing about it.
I'm sorry. I was going to say really quick before you get to the end part. I just wanted to say the only other problem that I had with the movie was the stupid girl that they just randomly put in there.
Anna.
Yes.
Anna.
I mean,
right. Well, she has to tell the story about the the weather getting hot and.
Well, the CIA was going to
village.
waterboard her to get information about the rebels, the guerrillas, too. Right. Remember that.
Other than her being in the movie, that was really that and the general being overlooked by completely being overshadowed by Apollo at the beginning. Those are the only two issues I had with the movie. But anyway,
can I say for one thing, the most realistic part of this entire movie is that we really do have A-teams down in Central America and South America working with these fighting narco terrorists and all that stuff. You don't hear about it, but we really do have people like that down in training.
I think the U.S. has 600 U.S. soldiers. I want to say Marines in Colombia at all times fighting drugs.
Well, we've got these teams, these like 5- and 6-man teams that are down there working with these native armies to fight these narco terrorists. It's crazy. We really do have that. But anyway, the thing that struck me was, when you get to the last act and it's mano a mano with Schwarzenegger versus this monster, and it's the commonality of all the like big time 80s heroes is not that they were necessarily badasses, but that they could take a punch. When you look at Rocky, and the dude from Die Hard and Schwarzenegger in this movie, they get their asses beat, and they keep coming back. But I thought it was interesting when the alien is lifting Schwarzenegger up and looking at him. He's like, what makes this guy different? You can kind of see his thought process.
Examining the skull, looking at the shape of the skull with his thermo vision. Yeah, no,
this bad vision.
So he killed everybody. The Predator killed everybody like immediately, right? In like 2 seconds, with whether it was weaponry or his blade arms or anything like that. But yet he toyed with Dutch, threw him around, slapped him around a little bit, pushed him down, threw him in the water. It makes a better movie. I'm just saying he killed like Billy and some other badasses in 1 second, and he took his time with Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, but I think they kind of alluded to that, why he would do that earlier in the movie when they said that he wasn't going to kill somebody who didn't have a weapon, and along the same lines,
no sport.
They were trying to say basically that he wanted to, toy with everybody, and he wanted to hunt everybody. And so since he was the last piece of prey left, I think that's why he was toying with Schwarzenegger.
Here's one question for you guys. How many stinking waterfalls did Schwarzenegger fall over in that scene when he fell off the cliff, man?
He felt two different scenes, when he went in the mud originally and then at the end when he got the mud washed off of him.
How many feet up do you think that was? That was an impressive waterfall dive.
Absolutely. Again, practical effects now, that would look like a video game because it would all be CGI.
Again, that was really awesome, though, just seeing the Predator dive in after him. That was fucking
splash.
Awesome. Just the splash, awesome. Like the way that scene was shot was fantastic. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
All right. Can I say one thing before we forget to?
No, you can't.
Because no podcast about Predator cannot include this little tidbit. So, basically, most people, I think, who watch the movie will know that there are 2 former governors in the movie, but there's also a Kentucky candidate for governor, Sonny Landham, which I guess was Billy, who was in the movie. So 3 people, at a minimum, because I could be missing somebody, who ran for governor.
Hey guys, I think we're inside Hawkins' wife's vagina right now because there's an echo.
Billy! The other day, I was going down to my girlfriend. I said to her, "Jeez, you got a big pussy. Jeez, you got a big pussy." She said, "Why did you say that twice?" And I said, "I didn't." See, it's because of the echo.
Did you guys cover that while I was still watching the movie?
And Diego, we covered what Sonny Landham's first career was in the 70s. And you've got 3 guesses. Go.
Porn star.
There you go.
Hey. I love it.
So he was a 70s porn star when everything was hairy and like gross and like slimy and greasy.
I think this movie was almost perfect. I think the only way that I can think of that it could have been better is if at the very end, because you know how he would kind of say he would repeat the words of other people.
Wait, hold on. You know who did the voice in that for the Predator's voice?
Who?
Peter Cullen, better known as Optimus Prime.
No way, really?
He has the best voice of anyone that's ever done a voice.
He was also the narrator in Voltron, and he's done a ton of stuff. Yep.
Anyway, I was going to say the best, the only way that it could have been better is if at the very end when he was picking him up, if he just looked at him and he said, "What I want is for you to stand there in that baggedy white uniform and with your Harvard mouth extend me some fucking courtesy. You gotta ask me nicely."
Wrong movie.
I strenuously object.
Wrong movie. We're a couple years away from that.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
By the way, can we do many Demi Moore movies? Because I'm all about Demi Moore.
Are you all about winding up dead floating in her pool?
Yeah, I don't want to be that floater.
All right, hey.
I will say, I think the MVP of this movie.
She wasn't there, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
She had nothing to do with it.
MVP, go ahead.
The MVP of this movie, I mean, as great as Schwarzenegger was, this is the height of Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 80s. Even though the cast wasn't necessarily a bunch of known actors.
I don't know, Carl Weathers.
It was, Carl Weathers, but, even then, what a cool ensemble, right?
Yep.
I mean, the way that it all came together, but if Stan Winston isn't flying in a plane alongside James Cameron and Cameron doesn't suggest a creature with mandibles, you never get the Predator. And if the Predator was some really weak creature, that movie never would be the
icon,
pop culture icon that it is today. I mean, as great as everything else was in the movie, it's a creature movie, and the creature was awesome.
And the creature makes or breaks it, and you're absolutely right. A really crappy-ass creature would have completely ruined that movie. And
they've ruined everything since then, but that's just a testament to how cool the creature is.
Cool enough to get a sequel, and then a lot of Alien versus Predator crap things. But yeah, we won't get into that. So one thing I want to, before we kind of get the tail end and get everybody's last thoughts and our ratings on this, is for all the Predators going through and collecting trophies and being a hunter and honorable and all that stuff, he's a big freaking sore loser, right? So yeah. Again, we're breaking away from the reality and
Probably
whatever.
a Michigan fan.
Right. He's like, I lost in fair hand-to-hand battle, so I'm just going to take my ball and go home or let a nuke go off. That's kind of... It was cool when I first saw it and was young enough not to think through that, but now I'm kind of like, that's pretty lame. He's just a big old sore loser. Like, this big tough creature, Hunter, is a sore-ass loser, so he's got to blow everything up.
Don't you think that's actually comes from the Cold War and the time when the movie was made? Being made in 1987, I think it was perfect.
Cold War allegory and Predator. I don't know about that.
I don't know. 1987, setting off a nuke to end everything and showing that no matter what you do, everybody's going to end up dead.
How about this? So he sets off this nuke, right? This. I mean, it's a nuke on his wristwatch, basically, right?
Yeah.
And Dutch doesn't realize it till more than half the timer's already gone. He runs about the length of, unless he's like freaking Usain Bolt, he's only going maybe a football field away from this thing. And yet the next scene you see is him standing there just.
But more unbelievable than that was, as smart as Arnold is in this movie, Dutch, I'm sorry. It took him, how long did it take him to realize that was a bomb? I mean, everything else he did was just on the money throughout the whole movie, and then he's like, "Oh,
weird
really?
hieroglyphics though. Like it's like alien hieroglyphics, right? Like you don't know that.
What else could it be? I mean,
I don't know. I've never fought an alien to the death and seen something go off in this wristwatch.
And why not just go ahead?
He's laughing at him.
Just go ahead and smash him with the rock.
Maybe
smash him with the rock.
Maybe he was taking something and posting it to social media on wherever planet he's from. I don't know.
Well, I think what it was just the ultimate code red.
Did you order the code red? You're goddamn right I did!
The ultimate code red. Well, I personally think that the Predator, for all the stuff he did to collect trophies and really took great joy and trophies for people that were honorable fights. He was a big wussy baby sore loser. Ultimately,
he'd never been beaten. That was the thing. He didn't take it well at all.
He did not take it well.
Yeah, he got the leg swept one too many times and he couldn't hack.
Sweep the leg.
That's right. I tell you, he made a bad decision. Here's where he made a bad decision. Here's where the Predator really messed up. Is when Dutch falls in the water, and he loses all of his mud, and he's up on that tree limb, and the Predator comes down with his blades on either side of his head. Like, he could have just killed him right then and there. Game over, man. Game over.
If he didn't spear him, he could have broke his neck or something. Yeah. I think he was toying with his prey a little too much.
Yeah, he did, and he got caught. He was monologuing in his own way, and he got caught, man.
All right, so let's start to wrap this thing up, guys. Let's go around the table and do final thoughts. Plessinger, why don't we give your final thoughts and a rating on this thing?
Well, before we get to the rating, we got to have everyone because I don't know if we were just doing random quotes or if we were doing our favorite quotes, because we were talking about all that before Diego was here. So
give us your favorite quote. Give us your thoughts on the movie and a rating.
All right. Well, we'll do quotes first. It's really tough because there's so many good ones in this one. I mean, you can just pick any random quote; it'll be different, no matter what day I'm, thinking about it. But I like the one where I think it was Mac just like really getting on Apollo for fucking up the whole time, because he was just being like a complete bitch throughout this whole movie when he was saying, "You're ghosting us, motherfucker. I don't care who you are back in the world. You give our position away one more time, I'll bleed you real wide.
Leave you here. And leave you here.
Badass.
And leave you here."
Because nobody liked him. They knew they were double-crossed by him at the same time. Yeah. All right, thoughts on the movie?
I thought it was pretty fucking good. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, definitely one of my favorite Arnold movies. I think the only other Arnold movies that I would compare to it are Terminator 2 and I really like Total Recall a lot. So those are my three favorite Arnold movies.
What's your rating?
Well, we'll do quotes first, then we'll do some ratings. So
you did your quote.
I know, you guys got to do your quotes, and then I'm still thinking about my rating. So
all right,
you guys do your quotes, I'll figure out my rating.
Weaver, give us your quote, your thoughts on the movie.
Okay, well, this is one of my all-time favorite movies. I mean, it might even be like my second favorite movie of all time, but it's in the top three. My top three favorite movies of all time are Snatch,
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Someone else is in the 70s porn.
Yeah, I love Snatch is a great movie. I love Guy Ritchie at his finest, and
Jason Statham.
Yep, love that movie. Love Predator. Always will love Predator. And Casablanca is my other one there, like right up there at the top.
Go ahead and shoot. You'll be doing me a favor.
But Predator is by far my favorite Arnold movie. I was huge into Arnold in the 80s. But this is the one that of all of them, this one, Terminator still holds up, but there's still some stuff with that, like with the effects. This one, yeah, there's all kinds of, if you look closely enough, there's some horrible stuff, but it's still awesome, just 100% awesome. And you just can't go wrong. I already used up both my favorite quotes in the movie. I mean, the one, the Billy's part, but the I wouldn't wish that on a broke dig dog. That one's my all-time favorite of that whole movie, which is not like one of the more well-known ones, but I like that one. So it's one of my all-time favorite movies.
All right. Excellent. Diego?
Well, I'm going to go with the quote first. Is that how we're doing it?
Yeah, we're doing quotes first.
Okay, so I'm going to say Hawkins when he says, "Hey, Billy, the other day I went up to my girlfriend. I said, I'd like a little pussy." She said, "Me too." Hold on. I'm reading this because I don't want to screw this up. And it just went.
You already screwed it up, dude.
Mine's as big as a house.
Hold on.
We're still echoing, guys. We're still in the Hawkins.
Mine's as big as a house. And Hawkins responds, "See, she wanted a little one because hers was big as a house."
Guys, we've done this entire show in Hawkins' wife's pussy because we've echoed and echoed.
I'm not getting an echo.
No, I mean, Diego keeps bringing up the same stuff we were talking about when we was off.
Sorry, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
That was one of my favorites.
All right,
That was definitely one of my favorite lines in the whole movie. The other one is "I ain't got time to bleed." Jesse the body obviously is, sitting there bleeding, and the guy says, "You're bleeding," and he's like, "I ain't got time to bleed."
Oh yeah, you got time to duck?
That's got yeah.
I thought that was the second best line.
So what do you think of the movie? Overall thoughts on the movie?
As far as the movie's concerned, like I said, I think it holds up. I really enjoyed it. Full of action. I think the dialogue wasn't, something that you would expect would be fantastic because it's, kind of shticky, that you expect some jokes and stuff like that. But at the same time, it didn't detract from the action, didn't detract from the fact they were being hunted. And, obviously you can find problems in the movie like you can with any movie. But I really enjoyed it. And upon watching it for the first time in 20 years, I really feel like it held up. And I actually was incredibly surprised by how good a movie it was. So I would give it. What's our scale?
We're not doing scales.
We're not doing ratings yet.
Oh, we're not doing it yet. Oh, all right. Well, I'll hold back.
And everybody does their own, so you can make up your own.
No, but we got to do out of a certain amount.
It's out of 10, but then you got to make up your score.
Oh yeah, we did 10 last week. I'm used to hearing 5, but you're right.
So we'll go to mine, then we'll get back to Plessinger for ratings. Okay. I got 2 quotes. One, the first one because it's so iconic, and it's what you think of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Get to the choppa. Got to go that one. But in all honesty, probably my favorite quote is at the end of the movie. Predator pulls off his mask. Arnold Schwarzenegger's sitting there looking at him. He says, "You're one ugly motherfucker," and I think that's probably.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
I love it. I've used that on people before, particularly friends when I see what their girlfriends look like. That
All right, I gotta go with my rating now because I just
hold on. I got to give my final thoughts now. Final thoughts on the movie.
I'm sorry, you still have to give more thoughts. All right, let's go.
More
thoughts by Jason Johannes.
Exactly, by Jack Andy. I was probably the most critical, pointing out unrealistic things, which is stupid because it's a science fiction movie. But I'm going to say this is one of the all-time best 80s movies out there. It's definitely the upper echelon of Arnold Schwarzenegger films. It's lean and mean. It gets right to the action. It keeps the action up. There's good one-liners, great villain. Special effects, practical effects hold up. CGI, not so much, but it was still early. Watch this movie anytime. You could show it to teenagers right now that may be a little think the 80s and 90s were stupid. I think they would appreciate it. So I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to peg it for some of the reality questions on there because it is a movie about an alien that comes down from space to hunt people. So great movie. One of the better movies that came out of the 80s by far. All right, Plessinger.
All right. My rating, this is definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm going to give it, I definitely did not, make the mistake of waiting 20 years to watch it again. I've seen this quite a few times. I'm going to give this pretty high rating. I'm going to go with 9.85 cauterized governors.
Oh, nice. Cauterized governors. Impressive. All right, Weaver, your rating.
All right. Well, before I give my rating, I have to say rest in peace, Kevin Peter Hall. Died of HIV complications after a blood transfusion, and by all accounts was an awesome human being and played a phenomenal, iconic monster villain in this movie. So loved him. He made the movie. I give it 9.5 ugly motherfuckers out of 10.
Diego.
All right. Well, I am afraid to give it my rating because I don't want people to think that I didn't love the movie. But apparently, I am a little more. How do I put it?
Wrong.
Harsh.
What?
Wrong.
Not wrong. Did you say wrong?
Yes, wrong.
No, you're wrong. Terribly wrong.
No. I think I'm a little tougher, I guess. discriminating would be the word than you guys maybe when it comes to the rating. So I am going to give Predator a very enthusiastic 8 late arrivals.
8 late arrivals.
Yes.
Well, what can we expect? A lower rating than expected from somebody who couldn't even finish it on time. All right, my rating. I'm going to give it 9 out of 10 sexual tyrannosauruses.
Yeah, we can't have a rating without at least one person using that.
Can you explain the sexual tyrannosauruses?
You didn't see that part? Did you not see that part?
Oh my God, help me! That's like
did I miss that?
Around here, this stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus, just like me.
Are you serious?
Did I miss that? I must have been looking away.
All right, I think Diego was watching SpongeBob and not Predator. He must have. How do you miss the most famous
First
scene in the
10
movie?
minutes of the movie, they're in the helicopter going to the jungle. Blaine is offering his red man chewing tobacco to people. And they won't take it. And he's like, what's wrong with you guys? This will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus like me.
Way to clean that one up.
Okay, I remember Carl Weathers chastising him for doing it, for the bad habit.
Spitting.
You're right. No, you're right.
His shoe. He spit on his shoe after he said he showed Blaine his airborne cigarette lighter that he earned with Dutch back in Vietnam, and Blaine is so impressed that he spits on his shoe.
I remember now. My apologies.
Diego must not have been there when I was talking about Josie Wales.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Not at all, right?
No,
you know what?
You missed my awesome comparison to the Outlaw Josie Wales, where Clint Eastwood is spitting on everyone in the movie with this dip.
With his disdain for everybody. I think this is probably the perfect point to close out this whole podcast on.
Done well, man. About an hour and 15 minutes. Good job, fellas.
With Diego missing the beginning and all the fun, and coming back to waiting on Diego to finally get the quote.
It wouldn't make sense for me to be on time now, would it?
Well, you know what? You're not making us a liar on this podcast. I will say that. Do we have a for next week?
People don't probably believe. People probably will not believe that I'm actually tardy, but I have to say, I was behind. And I this isn't a lie. This isn't shtick. I was busy, and I was, unfortunately not prepared, and I will try and do better.
I'm going to say, Diego, if anybody that listens to this that knows you, they'll completely understand, and they won't think this is a shtick. So,
well, the greatest part about this is Diego is the only single guy with no kids,
and he has the least amount of time to watch this stupid movie.
No excuses.
All right. Do we have a subject for next week, guys? Did we come up with a flick, or is that to be determined?
Whose choice is next week? Predator was kind of.
Wait, don't I get a choice?
No. 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 We don't want to see like the English Basin or something like that.
This one is kind of Brian's, so it's either Jason or Diego on the next one.
Well,
Diego, do you have something in mind already geared up?
I don't, but I can come up with something in the next day or two.
Well, that doesn't help the listeners out.
All right, well, why don't we let Jason do it, and I'll have something ready for next week.
Okay, well, I'm going to make this movie is readily available on Netflix, or it's on cable 24 hours a day on one of any number of channels. And it is the legendary, the all-time great Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze.
I like it.
I like that one. That's good.
By the way, guys, I already thought of my choice for next week. So I don't know if you guys.
Well, now it's got to be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Save it. I'll save it. All right.
All right, guys. Well, I think good job this week on waiting on Diego. I think Predator is one of those upper echelon movies we can all agree, and that anybody who's listening to this should go out and watch it if they haven't seen it, or rewatch it if they haven't seen it recently. Anybody else want to close out?
I guess I want to say that it has been a pleasure and that I will do better to be on time despite the name of the podcast.
Now we're really stretching reality. That's worse than
Yeah, definitely the most unrealistic thing between everything we saw in that movie. That statement.
All right. Any final words, Weaver?
No, good job, fellas. This is so great. I love doing these, movies obviously that we grew up with, and there's nothing better than watching them and hearing that they still and seeing ourselves. But when we all get together and agree that they still hold up, it's they'll go down in the archives as some of the greatest movies ever. So we got to get at some point. We got to get into some of these movies that are just god awful and don't belong in that canon. But this is definitely one that absolutely should be watched for decades to come.
All right, Plessinger.
I don't know. I mean, whatever it is out there, it killed Hopper, and now it wants us.
And I think with that is the great time to close it out. Hey, thanks everybody for listening. Hopefully you come back next week for Roadhouse, and we'll chat you all next week.
Yep.
Got it.
Hasta la vista.